Seven Professors of the Far North. It's actually been a couple years since I read this book by John Fardell.
That was a very young me doing my first ever review on YouTube. So as a youngling, every Sunday I made a vlog on YouTube, but often I didn't know what I was going to talk about till I turned on the iPad. But one Sunday I looked to my right and I saw on the bookshelf beside me this book. And I was like, why not review it? And that launched me reviewing things on my channel, which was basically the focus up until 2018 when I did Mythology Month. And so, friends and fellow VEDSies, I thought I would return to the book that I reviewed, The Seven Professors of the Far North. This was published in 2004, written by John Fardell, who also did some just really nice illustrations for it. And it's a book about Sam, a kid who goes to visit his parents' old college professor and his two nieces and nephews, Zara and Ben. However, on that visit, some shenanigans happen. Some villains kidnap the professor along with 5 of his companions, and the kids have to go on a quest to save the professor from the evil... What was the villain's name? I think it's Professor Mordo? That sounds evil enough. It is Professor Mordo. It's almost like I just finished reading this book, so I remember things. Turns out that Professor Mordo, along with the 6 other professors, had tried starting a university in the far north, but after some concerns about Mordo's studies, he escaped, leaving them to die, and they survived by using a underground travel system called the ISNT, or the Intercontinental Subterranean Navigation and Transportation Company. Now Professor Mordo's back and he is going to finish his work and kill the 6 professors who tried to stop him all those years ago. But one of the professors leaves behind a secret instructions for the kids, so they go to the ISNT, they travel to the far north, and with some help from people along the way, they are able to save the day. And I loved this book as a kid. It was adventurous, dangerous, there was grounded stakes, but that didn't impede on the excitement and exploration of a new world. And this does move at a clipped pace. So the chapters are fairly short, however, they never feel like they're too abbreviated, and because of that, it's really easy to just get in a rhythm of reading chapter after chapter. Not just now as an adult, but also as a kid, I poured over these chapters. And John Fardell writes this in a very exciting way. He actually changes up the style a little bit, so it lacks consistency. However, he does that to emphasize the danger of certain situations. As our main trio of kids go north to save the professors, there's also a story about another child who is actually in Professor Mordo's compound. Her name is Marcia? I'm so bad at remembering character names. Marcia Slick. And because Marcia is trying to escape the compound, he writes the sentences very short, very choppy, and it creates a sense of urgency, but also of a systematic problem solving that is at the root of Marcia's character. And the sense of danger just doesn't go past the situations that the kids find themselves in. When you get to the end of the book and you realize what Professor Mordo actually wants to do, you realize how dark it is. But dark in a way that makes you think, and I think is presented in a way that's still appropriate for children. Now, all that glowing praise being said, it is a book that maybe takes a couple leaps and bounds too far, and the characters aren't exactly deep. This has to juggle 3 kids in most of the chapters, and while it bounces back and forth well enough that you don't feel like one character is getting more presence than the others, it also doesn't get that much into who these kids are. But I also don't think that's what the book is trying to do. This may not have many dynamic characters in it, but it definitely has dynamic situations and world building which push forward the sense of adventure. And at the core of it, that's why I love this book as a kid, as the version of me who decided to randomly review this one day on YouTube, and as the adult going back to revisit this. I have this habit when I revisit stories to expect the extremes from them. Either expect them to be a near perfect story that completely holds up to my childhood vision of it, or for it to be completely vacuous and empty. And most of the time, those stories don't fall into the pits of my expectations or reach the heights. They're just stories. But honestly, that's kind of more disappointing. Like, I want these stories to matter, like they did to me when I was a kid. And if I read them and they're just a story, then I feel like I've wasted my time. But with The Seven Professors of the Far North, I totally saw what I loved about it as a kid carried through to the modern day. It was still a fun read, a even tense read at parts, and one that I would highly recommend to any child who has an adventurous spirit. Alright, y'all, I've rambled on enough about this 16-year-old book that no one else has read. I will see y'all tomorrow.